banquet. But at the same time, the Fort Erie Junior B Meteors were playing against the St. Catharines Falcons in Game 6 of that series, and unfortunately, they lost. So that was the Sutherland Cup semifinals. It's the second year that Fort Erie has done extremely well in that competition. They were getting very large crowds. A lot of people of all ages, including a lot of youth, were there. The team did an exemplary job in representing the town of Fort Erie, and we thank them for the effort that they put in this year. And unfortunately, they didn't win their division as they did last year, but they got within 2 wins of that goal this year. So we wish them luck for the coming year. April the 27th to May 3rd is National Volunteer Week, and I want to thank all of the volunteers in our community who take the time to devote to a variety of projects in this community, and we will be recognizing them with a flag raising. May the 1st is Doctor's Day, and we have a lot of physicians in this community for which we should be thankful. Today we join communities across Ontario in recognizing Doctor's Day, a day to express our gratitude to physicians for their compassionate care, dedication, and continued commitment to improving the health of people in our community. We are proud to recognize May 1st as Doctor's Day and express our sincere appreciation to all physicians for their extraordinary work in shaping a healthy Fort Erie and a healthy Niagara. And then finally, I just want to provide a very brief update on a couple of resolutions that this council passed, one in October of 2024, one in February of this year relative to the future of Douglas Memorial at the Urgent Care Centre and what we believe would meet the needs of the people of Fort Erie, the residents of Fort Erie. We've been seeking opportunities through the CAO's office to meet with several ministers of the provincial government, including the Minister of Health and the Premier. And we've been working on developing a model for healthcare in Fort Erie that would keep the Urgent Care Centre operating regardless of the completion of the new South Niagara Hospital, that would free up acute care beds in Niagara Health's hospitals, and that would accomplish a number of other things, including saving Niagara Health and the provincial government millions of dollars, which could then be allocated to providing better services elsewhere, including the town of Fort Erie. It would reduce EMS offload delays and save, again, several $million and make those ambulances available at critical times when they're otherwise tied up. It would reduce the emergency department wait times, because people would then have beds that they could go to in the Niagara hospitals as opposed to having to wait, which then creates the backlog. And it would improve patient care for all patients in Niagara, not just in the town of Fort Erie. So we're looking forward to having further discussions with the government ministries. I understand that our CAO has had some success along those lines, and we will keep the community posted further as these things develop. Okay, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? There being none, we have a number of upcoming public meetings and open houses. We have an open house with respect to 3957 Rebstock Road. That's a zoning bylaw amendment, and that open house will take place here in the Town Hall atrium on April the 30th, 2025 at 5 p.m. We have open house and public meeting with respect to the town-wide housekeeping zoning bylaw amendments. The open house will take place on May the 1st, which is Thursday of this week at 5 p.m. here in the Atrium Town Hall. The public meeting will take place in these council chambers at 6 p.m. on May the 12th, 2025. We have an open house with respect to an official plan and zoning bylaw amendments with respect to 3856 Terrace Lane and an unassigned parcel immediately to the north of that. That open house will take place here in the Town Hall atrium on Monday, May the 5th at 5 p.m. We also have a public meeting with respect to 6 Mile Creek flooding municipal class environmental assessment on May the 6th at 5 p.m. at Crystal Ridge Library at 89 Ridge Road in Ridgeway. And we have an open house with respect to 745 Dominion Road, the zoning bylaw amendment Again, that open house will take place on Wednesday, May the 7th at 5 p.m. here in the Atrium Town Hall. And then finally, we have a public meeting regarding a zoning bylaw amendment for 99 Joseph Street, and that public meeting will take place during the council meeting here in the council chambers on May the 12th at 6 p.m. There is no regional councillors report, which takes us to presentations and delegations. And the first presentation is Aaron Graybill, Executive Director, Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Niagara, for an update with respect to the services they provide. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. Is it this mouse? Okay. Just going to make sure I can move my slides. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak to you this evening about Big Brothers Big Sisters of Niagara mentorship programs and the impact of those programs. As mentioned, I'm Erin Graybill, and I have the privilege of being the Executive Director with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Niagara. In this picture here, this is Frankie, and Frankie is the youngest child in her family. When she was just 5 years old, Frankie's sister passed away from neuroblastoma cancer. After that devastating loss, Frankie became very quiet and introverted. Her mom realized the need for her to connect with someone outside of their immediate family and reached out to Big Brothers Big Sisters. In May of 2023, at the age of 7, she first met Tara Lee, her new mentor. Tara Lee has shared that she is so proud of the confidence Frankie has developed. She is really coming out of her shell. There are moments when she tells Tara Lee she feels sad about her sister or hears a song that reminds her of her, but she's so grateful that she feels comfortable sharing with her how she's feeling, and we can talk about those feelings openly and acknowledge that it's okay to be sad. Frankie and Tara Lee often attend Big Brothers Big Sisters events, and I've had the opportunity to witness firsthand the amazing connection they have. It's incredible to see them laughing, playing, and smiling together. Tara Lee's mentorship is helping to shape Frankie's development, enabling her to realize and reach her potential. This is just one story highlighting the power of Big Brothers Big Sisters mentorship. Mentoring is an essential proactive support for children and youth. Many people in our community are facing adverse childhood experiences that without intervention can negatively impact their development. With the support of a caring adult mentor, these risks can be reduced or even avoided so youth can reach their full potential. Big Brothers Big Sisters programs enable vulnerable children and youth to develop their social and emotional competence, mental health and well-being, educational engagement, and employment readiness. An investment in preventative mentoring supports for children and youth has a direct return to our community. Every $1 invested in Big Brothers Big Sisters mentoring returns $23 to our society through taxes, higher employment rates, incomes, volunteerism, and charitable donations. As of 2023, we are now a Niagara-wide agency serving all 12 municipalities. As you can see, in 2024, 1,060 children and youth across Niagara received mentorship support. Of those, 57 children and youth were right here in Fort Erie. 9 are community-based matches, and 48 were involved in either one-to-one or group programs in Fort Erie schools. Big Brothers Big Sisters programs are available for children and youth starting at 6 and for young parents continuing up to 25 years of age. In Fort Erie currently, there are 13 children and youth on the wait list for a one-to-one mentor, but we know as we go into the fall that there will be lots more looking to connect with a mentor in school. The good news is our model is scalable, and with support from the community as volunteer mentors, we could serve more children and youth in Fort Erie. While many of our mentors are magical, the secret is being a consistent and caring figure in a young person's life. Big Brothers Big Sisters would appreciate the support from the mayor, council, and city staff helping to spread the word about our need for volunteers in Fort Erie. And for little as 1 hour a week, someone can have a life-changing impact. Additionally, I do have to mention Big Brothers Big Sisters mentorship programs are offered at no cost to families, and that is thanks to support from the community. We have our Golf for Kids' Sake event coming up on Monday, June 2nd at Bridgewater Country Club right here in Fort Erie. And that is a great way for individuals and businesses to come out for a fun day of golf in support of youth mentorship. More information is available at bbbsniagara.ca, and we hope to see many of you out on the course. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions if time permits.
Thank you very much, Ms. Graybill. And no need to sell me on Big Brothers and Big Sisters. My father was a big brother back in the last century, and it was an extremely rewarding experience. Are there any members of council that have any questions? Thank you very much, and good luck with the tournament, and good luck with your programming.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next delegate is Austin Keinitz, and he's going to be addressing us on behalf of Community Living. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Redekop and Town Council Fort Erie. Just one moment. I would like to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Austin Keinitz, and in the end, I believe that everything will work out. This mindset has helped me through many difficult times. I receive support from the Individualized Planning, Resource, and Development Oversight Team, also known as the IPRDO, through Community Living Fort Erie. The IPRDO team has helped me to navigate the family legal system so I can have access to my son. They were able to be character witnesses for me and be there for me in the beginning with my child for the first few months, as being a single father for the first time can be very difficult. They also continue to support me through funding with meaningful activities that I can do with my son in the community, such as taking him swimming and going to the early on centers located throughout Niagara. Community Living Fort Erie has given me the opportunity to attend Community Living Day at Parliament last year in Toronto, where I was able to speak with the local MP, Wayne Gates, regarding issues that are important to me, such as funding for developmental services in Ontario. With the support of my staff, I went skydiving last year, got to go on a fishing charter in Lake Erie. The IPRDO team has continued to support me with transportation so I can take part in meaningful events and experiences to get to some work opportunities. Currently, they're helping me to get enrolled into a construction apprenticeship program done throughout Niagara College. They also support me with everyday life skills such as budgeting, planning my days, and staying organized. Because of these opportunities, I am able to give back to my community because of the stability provided from the IPRDO team. I am able to give back to my community in many meaningful ways, like volunteering at my church with the youth, and I enjoy being a positive role model for them. I have volunteered with Open Arms Missions food banks, and I am always willing to help other people in any way I can. I have potential, and community living has helped me to use my potential and build upon it in ways that are best for me. Community Living Fort Erie is particularly great due to the people who are actively working it to help those who need it. The IPRDO program is especially good as it helps a wide variety of people with many individualized needs. Thanks to their support, everything is working out. I am more independent and more hopeful about the opportunities that are in my future. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keenest, for your presentation. I usually get to ask that question.
Sorry.
Does anyone have any questions? Councillor,
Sorry.
please.
Thank you, Austin, for your wonderful presentation. It was very moving. In regards to your course at Niagara College, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It is funded through the Canadian federal government, and it is 6 weeks in class, 3 months on the site paid. And it seems like a good opportunity to get me into the trades.
Well, thank you for that answer, and I hope you do get into the trades because we definitely need construction workers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Councillor Dubanow.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and through you to Austin, thank you very much for your presentation. You did great. I'm just wondering, how old's your son?
He is 2 years old. He just turned 2 on the 13th.
Just turned 2. You are experiencing an awesome time. I'm a father as well. You said you have potential. You definitely do, and your son has potential too because you're his father. So don't ever forget that. I have one other question for you. Are we going to see you on the Community Living Board of Directors at some point in the future? You don't have to answer
I don't know.
Sounds like a politician.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like he's got some potential. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was great to see you this evening.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor McDermott.
Well, thank you for your presentation, Austin. You know, every time a member comes forward from community living, they're very impressive. And I know it takes a lot to speak from there. Sometimes you might be a little sheepish about coming, but you're not sheepish at all. Actually, there's 2 ladies back there, Mrs. Fiddler and Mrs. Nutt, that feel a little bit more intimidated than you do. So, so you're doing quite well. But I guess I want to say that I wish you all the best of luck in everything that you're doing. You're headed in the right direction, that's for sure. And it's great to have these people that have your back there every day. So it does take a village to help people, whether they have disabilities or whether they don't. And you have a great team of people at Community Living. And thanks so much for your presentation.
Councillor Christensen, questions, please. I let Councillor McDermott make a statement, but...
Oh, okay, so I'm not allowed to make a statement, but then I will do, wouldn't you agree that community living offers an absolutely wonderful program to help people like yourself build their lives in the community?
It is a phenomenal program, yes.
Thank you.
So I just have one question, and that is, are you going to be at the flag raising tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.?
I will be, yes.
We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to move Carol Nagy up so that we can hear from both Rich Products and ConMed back to back. So, Carol, would you like to come forward? And I see you've got your assistant, Ron Brunner, with you.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening. Just checking to see the mics are working. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. So thank you, Mayor, Council, and of course to city staff for having us here tonight. We'd like to provide an update of the Fort Erie Hospice build. Wilson House continues to be exciting. So we know we are building a 10-bed hospice in Fort Erie. Opening in 2026 is the plan, late fall, early winter. This new facility will serve Fort Erie and the surrounding municipalities and is located next to Gilmore Lodge, promoting an integrated community of care. We are currently working through site plan and building permit process with the town of Fort Erie and with the region, and I can say the town of Fort Erie staff have just been absolutely phenomenal in working through this process with us, so thank you so much. Due to the limited space on the actual parcel of land that was donated by the region, we are building 2 internal therapeutic gardens that will be built on the interior of the building. We went out for consultation within this community, and it was very important to people living here, as well as the Indigenous community, that they feel that the outside comes into the building. We know living in these rural areas that nature is has healing properties and is so important to our health and our mental health. So we've planned 2 internal courtyards based on these assumptions. Both therapy gardens, that's me, next slide, sorry. Oh, there we are. As you can see just in the layout, both gardens, one therapy garden will be just inside the front door with access to the community space, the Children's Therapy Center, which is unique to this Fort Erie hospice build. And the other will be adjacent to all of the family rooms, quiet rooms used in the residence, with every family who's staying at hospice, every person staying at hospice having access to that therapy garden. All the doors and walkways will be completely accessible, so even if a person is bedbound, they can enjoy these external spaces.
Just want to give you a real quick rundown on what the Ridgeway Lions have done for Hospice Niagara. Back when Carol came to our club and did their presentation, and we're looking for fundraising. I'm the chair of the New Projects Committee. I thought, well, we're going to do something bigger than the playground we did 7-8 years ago. We were going to go for the gusto here, so we decided we were going to do one of the courtyards. And some of the members thought that's a big chunk to chew there. But anyways, I thought, you know, we have a 5-year program with hospice. But back in July of 23, when we started this, we presented them with their first $25,000 check. Donations from the community. Shirley Plato was a big donator. She donated $10,000. Us selling Christmas trees, doing bingos, all our dinners, pancake breakfast, you name it, what we do. We've donated money. Then I thought, hey, we need to go to Lions International because they do offer a matching grant. So by doing that, we had to involve District A2, which, Your Worship, no, that's the district we belong to. So I think between the clubs in the District A2, they donated around $21,000. So back in January, we got the okay that we were authorized, we were approved for a matching grant, which is almost half of the money we needed. It worked out to $77,544 US. So when that check comes in, we'll be a few thousand short, but our club's going to put the rest in. So this was a big thing for our club to do for the community, for hospice, and it's just been it's just been something in my heart, a lot of heart in our club. Lion Casey was my partner in this until his passing, so I know this was dear to him as well. So.
And we can't thank the Ridgeway Lions Club enough, as well as the Fort Erie community that continues to support all of their events. So tonight, I'm here to respectfully request that the town of Fort Erie increase its contribution by $100,000 to match this community contribution by the Lions Club in order that we have the second therapeutic garden, the costs paid for, and as well as to provide the town with some legacy in your leadership and your compassion as a town. I just attached here some details of the planting. Everything will be done very thoughtfully, very carefully in these therapeutic gardens, and we hope to include at least one fountain and as well an opportunity for Indigenous people to provide sacred fires when somebody passes, barring any concerns from the fire department, and we will work through those with them. So why this matters? You know this. Being in this kind of natural space, particularly at this point in time in people's lives in this journey, it provides them an opportunity to take a breath, to take a moment, to really come to that restorative place again within themselves, within their families. It provides an opportunity for people that are participating in our programs to still integrate that outdoor experience into their journey. Some of that is for young children who are grieving the loss of a parent. Some of it is for adults who have lost somebody special to them in their lives as well. This will also be a safe place for people to access. As I said, it will be completely accessible, which not all of our outdoor spaces are for everybody, particularly those people who are bedbound. As well, it fills a gap for people who come to hospice, no matter what your socioeconomic background is, no matter your cultural background, you have an opportunity to participate in this kind of therapeutic program. This initiative also aligns with the town's strategic values. You and also Hospice Niagara foster inclusion and equity. We support wellness and quality of life, and together we want to build a strong community of partnerships. Finally, I just wanted to provide you that we're not just looking for today in this planning. We're also looking towards the future and how we will continue to ensure that these gardens remain well taken care of, that they are going to be well supported through Hospice Niagara, our funding, our donors, and our volunteers as well. Thank you, merci.
Thank you very much, Carol and Ron. So I just had a couple of questions, and I'll ask them before I pass this on to other members of council. We have a resolution with the correspondence that you've submitted that would direct your request to our 2026 budget deliberations, which start in the fall. How does that affect the timing of your decision making?
Well, the bill's going to have to go ahead no matter what. You know, the impact would be in delaying a decision of providing a grant would mean that Hospice Niagara may be in the position that we would have to go out and seek a loan in order to make the financial commitment for the build. However, I want to respect the fact that you want to add this to your budget process and would certainly appreciate that consideration.
Right, so decision sooner rather than later is best for you.
That would be the best for us to move forward.
This is a fantastic project for the municipality, and we have been very, very supportive of it. And I'm personally very supportive of your request. Of course, I'm one member of council. Members of council, any questions at this point? Okay, they're all familiar with your request. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation and for all of the good work that both Hospice Niagara does, as well as Ridgeway Lions and the district. I just had a question about donations. So if anyone watching this wants to donate, how do people get in touch with either of your organizations? Say they want to donate to Lions, or they want to donate directly to Hospice or this project itself.
Okay, go ahead, Ron. You go first.
Could just make donations to the Ridgeway Lions Club.
That's simple, and hospiceniagara.ca.
It's pretty simple.
hospiceniagara.ca.
No, and I'll be happy to share that information, and maybe
Thank you.
other members of council will do the same, but thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, and we would also, work with your IT department to put up a feed to make that even easier for people who are watching tonight.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Councillor Noyes.
Thank you for your presentation. And in your presentation, you talked about this hospice. It's a wonderful idea, 100% supportive. But it's going to serve all of Niagara. So I'm wondering how the other municipalities that are also going to be able to take advantage or use of this facility, how have they responded?
Positively across the region, there's still some municipalities that we continue to work with to hopefully add their donations in order to complete the Welland build as well as this, because they are regional centers of end-of-life care.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, then thank you very much, and we've taken your comments into consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so that takes us then to the request by Rich Products with respect to 4 to 6 Hagee Avenue. And is it Andrew Moscato that's going to be speaking to us this evening? Let me tell you that we're going to be hearing from you, then we're going to be hearing from Ms. McDermott. And my expectation is that this will be referred to the CAO to provide us with additional information and reports, so that we'll have all the information that we need in order to make a decision with respect to what could be a fairly important issue both for you and Codman.
Very good.
So please proceed.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Andrew Moscato. I am the plant manager at the Rich Products Food Manufacturing Facility here in Fort Erie, located at 8 Hagee Avenue.
And I'm supporting Andrew tonight, and thank you very much for having us. I'm Peter Melnick, and I lead our Canadian business for Canada. I'm the Senior Vice President for Canada.
Since 1963, Rich's has been a proud, active employer and member of the Fort Erie community. Over 60 years of local involvement, investment, and job creation. As a family-owned food company, we value the strong relationships we've built with both the town and our neighbors throughout the decades. Today, we employ 240 associates in Fort Erie as part of our 260-person workforce across Canada. Our average tenure at the plant is 14 years, including associates with 30, 40, and over 50 years of service spanning multiple generations of local families. As a food manufacturing facility, we produce noise, vibration, and air emissions regulated by an environmental compliance approval from the Ministry of Environment, ensuring emissions do not pose a hazard to nearby residents based on current receptors and setbacks of our neighboring properties, including at ConMed's properties located at 4 and 6 Hagee Avenue. I'm here tonight to discuss our submission requesting a Class 4 area designation under the Ministry of Environment's guideline NPC 300 for the new long-term care facility at 4 and 6 Hagee Avenue to be constructed by ConMed Healthcare Group. The new long-term care facility is moving approximately 15 meters closer to Rich Products facility, complicating our noise abatement efforts. Despite an agreement for partial noise mitigation measures with the long-term care facility, we must still meet full Ministry of Environment noise criteria. The partial mitigation agreed to with the long-term care facility is not enough for Rich Products to meet the full Ministry of Environment criteria. A Class 4 area designation, which was recommended by the Ministry of Environment, would help address additional abatement requirements by allowing higher noise vibration levels near Rich Products' long-standing industrial use. A Class 4 area designation is required to successfully transition the area around Rich Products and the QEW. Rich Products is concerned that ConMed's proposed new long-term care facility will cause us to face unachievable noise limits, increasing Rich Products' environmental liability and non-compliance risks. Without a Class 4 area designation, the cost of improving or expanding Rich Products facility will become prohibitively expensive. Applying a Class 4 area designation would significantly reduce these risks. Rich Products fully welcomes and supports ConMed's growth. We believe that this development will bring significant benefits to the community. However, it's equally important to ensure that the continued viability and longevity of our facility, which has been a cornerstone of the town of Fort Erie for many years. We are focused on a practical, fair, and reasonable solution for all parties that support both ConMed's ambitions and the preservation of our company's longstanding history and contributions to the town. The Ministry of Environment created the Class 4 area that recognizes circumstances where new residential and sensitive uses are proposed near to long-standing industrial uses. This classification applies specifically where land use compatibility issues may arise from noise and vibration emissions. Effectively, the Class 4 area classification recognizes that the area in question is in transition and can accommodate slightly higher noise and vibration levels than what might be expected in typical residential environments. A Class 4 designation will allow ConMed to proceed with its development without new issues and provide significant benefits to Rich Products by recognizing the area's mixed industrial and sensitive use. It will protect the human health and ecology while offering greater flexibility for environment compliance. It will establish requirements for noise impact studies, noise control measures, noise limits that are less stringent yet still protective of human health and ecology, facilitating the coexistence of both facilities. This designation ensures Rich Products can continue investing in its facility, maintain future compliance without negatively impacting the new long-term care facility. A Class 4 designation will benefit all parties involved and support the continued operation and economic contribution of one of the town's significant employers while supporting the long-term care facility's expansion. In accordance with the Ministry of Environment's guideline, Rich Products requests that the town designate the area at and surrounding ConMed's property as a Class 4 area alongside the site plan approval for ConMed's new long-term care facility. And in closing, as one of the Fort Erie's significant employers, Rich's is a proud, longtime member of the community. We value the strong relationship we've built with both the town and our neighbors. We fully welcome ConMed's growth and expansion. We must also protect the viability of our own and we have concerns about what impact the new long-term care facility could have on our business by moving closer to our production facility. Class 4 designation is a reasonable and fair solution for both Riches and ConMed. It will allow ConMed to proceed with its expansion while supporting Riches' continued operation and economic contributions to Fort Erie. Considering the long-standing nature of our facility and the QEW immediately to the south, this is precisely the type of area where a Class 4 area designation would be appropriate. Thank you for your time and consideration on this matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moscato. There's certainly a very good understanding and recognition of Rich Products' long history in our community and the role that it's played and the fact that it employs 240 people. The construction of the new long-term care facility, is it simply because it's being moved slightly closer to your plant that this arises? What if it was a new facility but it was being built with the same distance as it currently stands?
So we, in accordance with the Ministry of Environment, we get that ECA based on the noise we emit to the closest point. So with them coming 15 meters closer, we will now be louder. The Class 4 allows us 45 to 50 decibels, an increase of 5 decibels. So basically, we're hoping to offset them coming closer with the Class 4 area designation higher guideline.
Just one other question before we move on here. Have there been discussions between Rich Products and ConMed relative to this issue?
There have. Initially, this all started back in October, November, when they submitted for the lot line adjustment. We appealed that just because we wanted to understand what they were planning and how it affected us. We submitted an appeal because it was approved. Conversations took place and we agreed to settle on the appeal, and Class 4 was not among that. Originally was asked for and it was not agreed upon.
Right. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor, through you to the two presenters. Thank you for your presentation. In regards to just the noise and the vibrations you were talking about, Class 4, are there other things that are going to change? Like, does Class 4 not change like the time when you can make the noise? Are there not time restrictions that change also?
To the best of my knowledge, no. It's the allowed noise limits from that point of reception.
Okay, so you're not changing the time from, let's say, 6 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the morning?
No, ma'am.
Okay, that class doesn't allow that. And the mayor asked some of my questions about ConMed. Would you, I know there's all kinds of things now when you build something and you know you have to kind of consider the sound and the noise around you. Have you considered maybe working with ConMed in their, well, they're thinking about how they're going to build and assist them financially? Like I said, I know there's different kinds of glasses, different kinds of things that mitigate sound that would increase their cost for construction, but would also decrease any problems I may have with Class 4 designation.
Sure. Yeah, we have had those discussions, and I know with the appeal, they have talked about some of their mitigation plans they're doing inside their building, whether it be glass or where they're putting certain numbers of their areas. But for us, from the Ministry of Environment, it's the corner of the building. So it doesn't matter if they have all the soundproof in the world. It's the noise that we emit to their closest point, to the best of my understanding.
Okay, and thank you for that. One last question. Again, I don't know a lot about sound, but when you say it's an increase of 5 decibels, can you give me an example between, like, if you're at 6 now, 5 decibels would put you at 8 for noise? Like, what would be?
Yeah.
What would be an example, like a car horn to?
Sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm looking at my environmental health and safety manager. I believe 45 decibels is the sound of an average conversation. So where they are moving closer to is the side of our building where we have our silos for our flour. So we're offloading flour from tankers into the silos. We have our ammonia engine room. So we have condensers on the roof that are noisy. So it's a lot louder than 45.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Okay.
We'll get the counterpoint now from
Thank you.
Ms. McDermott. Ms. McDermott? Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and councillors. My name is Megan McDermott. I am counsel to ConMed Healthcare Group. ConMed is the operator of the Crescent Park Lodge and Maple Park Lodge long-term care facilities located at 4 and 6 Hagee Avenue, and through Numbered Companies is also the owner of the lands. And I'm here today on behalf of my client to oppose the request made by Rich Products for a Class 4 designation on these lands. When we learned of today's delegation and this request, not from my client's neighbors, Rich Products themselves, but from the town clerk, my client was shocked, confused, a little disappointed. As I believe you know, last year, ConMed applied for approvals that will allow it to build a new long-term care facility on the 4 Hagee property. It will provide for a new modernized building with increased capacity for an additional 28 beds. Those applications included a consent to adjust the internal property line between the 4 and 6 Hagee properties, and variances for each property for the interior building setbacks. The new building fully complies with the zoning setbacks to the western property line shared by Rich Products, and no zoning relief was required in that respect. A site plan application only for 4 Hagee has also been filed and is currently in process. The Committee of Adjustment approved the consent and variances in November of last year, and they were all appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal by Rich Products. Now, wanting to be a good neighbor, my client worked with Rich Products and ultimately ended up achieving a full settlement of the appeals. That settlement involved the execution of a settlement agreement, the execution of an agreement under the Industrial and Mining Lands Compensation Act, which effectively insulates Rich Products from any nuisance lawsuits or claims from owners and residents of the 4 Hagee site, and that agreement will be registered on title to my client's property. There was a full withdrawal of Rich Products appeals against the consent and the variances for 6 Hagee, meaning that those approvals are in full force and effect. And we agreed to request that the tribunal impose certain conditions on the variance for 4 Hagee that will ensure that the mitigation measures that were recommended in my client's Noyes study will be implemented and maintained in the new building. The settlement hearing took place on April 16th, and we are awaiting the tribunal's decision. And as I'm sure you know, the town's external counsel appeared at that settlement hearing and fully supported the settlement. What that settlement did not include was the request that Rich Products has made to you today for a Class 4 designation. My client spent considerable time and money to work through the settlement with Rich Products. We negotiated over months. We negotiated, drafted, executed 2 separate agreements. We prepared materials for the settlement hearing, and we attended at that settlement hearing and presented those materials. My clients did all of that in good faith, and on the understanding that the settlement agreement that both parties executed provided for a full settlement of Rich Products' concerns. To now be blindsided by this request after the agreement has been signed and the tribunal settlement hearing is completed is really not right. So, settlement aside, I think there's a bigger problem with this request, because what Rich Products is asking for is not something that the town is able to do under the Ministry of Environment's guidelines. And I'd like to take a few moments just to speak to what the Class 4 designation is. The Ministry of Environment has an environmental noise guideline titled NPC 300. It's intended to guide decision makers in making land use planning decisions that involve sensitive land uses adjacent to industries. And the guideline also sets sound level limits that are applied to industries when they apply for their environmental compliance approvals, or ECAs. The guideline classifies areas as Class 1, 2, or 3, depending on the level of urbanization of the area. And for each class, there are sound level limits. They're slightly higher for the Class 1, which is the most urban area, and then they decrease as you get more rural. Essentially, the louder the environment, the more noise an industry would be permitted to make. In 2013, the ministry released the current NPC 300, and they added this new category, the Class 4 area. This category was intended to give some flexibility in the sound level limits in cases where there was an existing industry and a new sensitive use was proposed, or it could be vice versa. And in those cases where the planning authority had determined that compatibility could be achieved and the two uses would be appropriate. I did provide a short excerpt of NPC 300 as an attachment with my delegation, and I'm happy to hear that you will be getting some advice from your staff on this. I'm sure they'll speak to this in more detail. But as you can see on page 7 and 8 of that excerpt, that is table C6, and this sets out the difference in the sound level limits. So what you can see there is that the difference between a class 1 and a class 4 is 10 decibels. Now, I'm not an acoustical engineer, I'm a lawyer, but I would, and so I'd of course urge you to get advice on this. But what I understand from my experience working in this area on these types of files is that generally 10 decibels is perceived by the human ear as twice as loud. So sound in a class 4 area can be about twice as loud as the limits in a class 1 area. The definition of class 4 area in the NPC 300 extract starts at the bottom of page 2. It means an area or specific site that would otherwise be defined as class 1 or 2, and which is in an area intended for development with new noise-sensitive land uses that are not yet built, is in proximity to an existing industry, and has formal classification from the Land Use Planning Authority during the land use planning process. And most importantly is the last sentence in that definition, which says, quote, additionally, areas with existing noise-sensitive land uses cannot be classified as class 4 areas. Further on in the extract, you'll see that the class 4 area designation also requires things like warning clauses and notice to new residents who can then make an informed decision about whether they want to live there. The class 4 area is not meant as a tool to foist higher sound levels onto existing residents. It does not allow an industry to decide it would like to make more noise to the people who already live there. And it does not provide an out for an industry who is not in compliance with its ECA requirements to simply up the limits and avoid the need to do anything. Both 4 and 6 Haggie have existing long-term care homes that are full with existing residents. The class 4 area cannot apply to them. Now, there is a proposal for the new building on the 4 Haggie site, so theoretically, yes, you could apply the class 4 area for the new building only. But in this case, it's my client's position that you shouldn't, and here's why. My client's proposal is to build the new facility on 4 Haggie Avenue while maintaining the existing facility intact. Only once the new facility is constructed and the residents are transferred over will the old one be demolished. There will be a continuous, uninterrupted, sensitive land use on this property throughout the entire process. And the new residents who live in the existing building will largely be the same ones who live in the new one, plus the new residents who are able to move in once they build up that bigger building. And so I put this question to you in your deliberations. Why is it fair that these residents who already live here should be exposed to noise that is doubly as loud just because they're moving from one older building to a new one? When you read NPC 300 and you consider the intent behind the class 4, in my submission, it's very clear that this type of situation is not what it's intended for. I would also note that these types of decisions about class 4 are meant to be made in the exercise of authority under the Planning Act. For the 6 Haggie property, the approvals are already enforced. There is no new building being built there. We've set for the 4 Haggie property, we've settled the variance appeal, we've requested the order from the tribunal, and it did not include this classification. And finally, and this is the part that I think is important, and I think it's a little bit different from the story that you just heard. The class 4 area designation is not needed for the new building. As part of the site plan application, our client had its noise consultants prepare a noise report that assessed noise impacts from Rich Products facility on the new building. And what they found was the new building will be better acoustically for Rich Products than what is currently existing on the site. Sound levels at the new building will be lower than they are at the existing one. The new building will actually move the resident bedrooms further away from the western property line and the Rich Products facility. The building will be much more modern, it will have air conditioning, it will have upgraded windows, and there will not be any bedroom windows facing west towards the Rich Products facility. The portion of the building that will be closer, that you heard about before me, that is planned to accommodate spaces that are not noise sensitive, such as offices and reception areas. So for those types of spaces, they're not considered noise sensitive. They don't have to count them as a receptor when they're going to do their ECA. The spaces that are considered noise sensitive in that area are the chapel and the dining room, and those will have inoperable windows. That's a measure that's recommended in my client's noise report. It's a measure that was secured through the conditions that we've asked the tribunal to approve. And on that basis, they're no longer considered a receptor that needs to be assessed for noise assessment when they go to do their ECA. So all of these measures, the upgraded windows, the air conditioning, the inoperable windows, have all been secured through the condition that we've requested to be added to the variances for 4 Hagee as part of the settlement. And I anticipate that they'll also form part of the site plan approval conditions and site plan agreement. Overall, this will be a much better building than what's existing for Rich Products in terms of maintaining their facility and their ECA approvals, and it will be a much better facility for the residents. There is simply no need in the face of all these improvements to allow Rich Products to produce double the amount of noise. Thank you for your time this evening. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks very much, Ms. McDermott. So I'm interested in the side agreement. You said there was a settlement agreement and then there was another agreement that was entered into by ConMed and Riches relative to sound?
Yes, that's right. It's called the Industrial Mining and Lands Compensation Act. And what this agreement essentially does is it provides a defense against any lawsuits or claims or actions for nuisance and coming from the sound on the Rich Products facility. So it essentially bars my client, the residents of the property, from suing Rich Products for any noise or emissions.
That would bar your client. Does it bar residents living in the building?
It does. That's how it's stated. It's stated that no owner, resident, tenant, etc. may bring an action in nuisance.
That's a document that our staff would be interested in. Is that available for them?
Yes, it is. We do have minutes of settlement. It is attached to the minutes of settlement, and I'm happy to provide you with a copy through your solicitor.
Thank you. The other question I had is with respect to the minor variance appeal. My understanding is that the redesignation of this property wasn't a subject of the minor variance appeal in any event. Couldn't have been dealt with by OLT.
It wasn't dealt with. I suppose there could have been a request, and the OLT would have to decide whether they felt that it was appropriate to do it in that type of a case, but the fact is that it wasn't made, so it wasn't dealt with.
And you were the legal counsel for ConMed with respect to that minor variance appeal?
Yes, sir.
And you're saying that at no time did you have any discussions with legal counsel for Riches relative to a request to reclassify this property?
I'm not saying I didn't have any discussions. We did have settlement discussions. I'm not at liberty to disclose the content of those due to settlement privilege. However, your external counsel does know the details and could speak to them in a closed session if you were interested in hearing that.
Okay, so if anything that you said left me with the impression that this hadn't been raised at all, that's not accurate.
No, it's not part of the settlement. It's not part of the settlement that was finally agreed on.
But it was it was raised at some point during discussions in connection with the OLT appeal?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Noyes?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Ms. McDermott. I think you kind of answered the question I was going to ask, that would you have signed the minutes of settlement if you knew the request for the Class 4 was coming forward?
That would be a question for my client to answer. I don't know what they ultimately would have done in that case. However, they signed them without the Class 4 request, and they did not know that it was coming. I can't answer
And-
what they would have done.
Okay, thank you. I guess I asked for an example in regards to what the change from what it currently is to a Class 4. And I was given an example of a conversation, a regular conversation, and it would just be a little louder than that. Would you like to give me an example of the change?
So, the best example that I can give you is that there's a 10 decibel difference. If you look at that table C6, the Class 1 area for the daytime limits is 50 decibels. The Class 4 area is 60 decibels. At nighttime in Class 1, like the very nighttime, it's 45 for the Class 1 area and 55 for the Class 4 area. So there's it's 10 decibels louder. And the way that the noise experts usually explain a 10 decibel difference is something being twice as loud.
I understand the numbers, but I don't have it in my head what it actually means. Would it be the difference between a truck going past my house or a train going past my house? Would that be?
I'm not sure. As I said, I'm not an acoustician, but that is a question that you should have your experts answer.
Fair enough, thank you.
Anyone else? So we're going to refer this to staff. And I really would suggest that there be some discussions between your client and Rich Products. Because on the one hand, you're saying this shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. It's a newer building. It's got more noise abatement features. The people that are occupying rooms are further away. It shouldn't be a problem. Rich obviously thinks there may be a problem. So hopefully there can be some further discussion so that you folks can resolve it, because as a council, we have great desire to have more long-term care beds in our community, but we also recognize that we've had Rich Products in this town for over 60 years, and they're a very responsible employer and a great corporate citizen. So we're wanting to accomplish the task of pleasing both of you, and that's not always possible unless the people that we're trying to please can collaborate and cooperate. So if you could provide us then with the minutes of settlement with the attachment, that would be great. And I appreciate very much your coming out this evening, and hopefully we can get this resolved. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes care of the delegations, and there are no public meetings this evening, so that takes us to the consent agenda. And Councillor McDermott, I understand you have the resolution for that.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dubanow, that council approves the consent agenda as recommended.
Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. I just wanted to comment on 11.2.2, the community living, May is Community Living Month. Most of you don't know that I had a brother who was a member, resident of the community living here in Fort Erie many years ago, and I would say those are the happiest years of his life. He was institutionalized before in Aurelia and then in Woodstock, horrible places, and he moved to Fort Erie Community Living, and they took wonderful care of him, so they always have a place in my heart. And I want to thank them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Noyes. We have as item number 11.2.5 the correspondence from Hospice Niagara and the request to refer this to the 2026 budget deliberations. I'm advised by the clerk, who was advised by the Director of Corporate Services, that if we're interested in trying to fund that out of this year's budget, we would need to amend that. So I don't know if anyone is interested in moving that we provide the $100,000 grant in addition to what we've already contributed, rather than defer this to the 2026 budget deliberations. Councillor Noyes?
I would definitely move that, but with one caveat. What have we promised so far, and what does this bring us our total funding to?
So we've committed $150,000. This would bring it to $250,000, which would be comparable to the Ridgeway Lions Club. And of the two gardens that were referred to, one would be dedicated to the Ridgeway Lions, the other would to the town of Fort Erie.
No, and thank you. I think that was on the slide, I just didn't understand the whole thing, but yes,
Yep.
I would definitely move that.
Okay, so you've moved that. Do we have a seconder, Councillor Lewis? Okay, and so the question that I would have, Mr. Jansen, is this money would come from capital reserve?
Yeah, I would suggest a motion that the 2025 general levy operating budget be amended to increase grant funding to Hospice Niagara in the amount of $100,000 with funding from the, I believe we would use the Community Health and Wellness Reserve. I just brought it up and that would suffice, I believe. So
Right.
we would do that.
Okay, you've got all of that, Madam Clerk? If not, he can repeat that at some future date. Yeah. Okay, are there any questions or comments on that? So that's to amend item 11.2.5. All those in favor of that? None opposed, so that is carried. And you'll communicate, oh, Ms. Nagy's already here. Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah. Are there, yes. Any other questions with respect to the consent agenda? If not, all those in favor of the consent agenda as amended? You had a question? Okay. All those in favor then? Opposed? Okay, that's carried. That takes us, there are no reports this evening, so we're on to new business, and the first item there is the Black Creek Water Windows item. It's requesting that we receive that, and Councillor Lewis, you're going to put that on the floor for us?
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott. The council receives the memorandum on the Black Creek water windows.
And Councillor Noyes, I presume you have a question on that?
Yes, I'd like to address that. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity of going around Black Creek and seeing where these water windows are, but they're in a road allowance, which is about 66 feet wide. Some of them are deeper than others, but it's 66 feet with residents on both sides. And one of the concerns that the residents brought up was over the year, like this has been discussed, there's been a few public meetings over the years, and one of their concerns right from the get-go was, privacy at night, like nighttime and some shenanigans may be going on their thing, and they were hoping that there'd be some time limits on that, and right now it's 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. But I wanted to address that too, is that currently on 3 of the 5 signs that are up, there's no time at all on 3 of them. It's just, there's not mentioned. 2 of them do have the 6 o'clock to 11 p.m. And I'm going to address that first. So that's my first concern, is that I don't know if dusk or dawn to dusk is the appropriate, or sunrise to sunset is appropriate. But again, and I understand from the bylaw enforcement, if it's dark, they shouldn't be there, I guess is what the neighbors would hope for. So I'm just going to leave that there right now. So again, it's, I think not all, one thing doesn't fit all situations. Like if you look at Ferndale Park, it's how many acres is Ferndale Park is quite different than a small little 66-foot parquet with a bench and a path. So I just want you guys to think about that. The other thing is about the dogs. Again, now this is complicated because it took me several times to read it myself, that the signs that do not have dog restrictions are the ones without the time. No, the ones with the time do not have dog restrictions. The ones with the times have dog restrictions. So the signs don't match. They're not consistent. So that's something we have to look at. The other thing that we need to look at is that if you go to the site of Fort Erie and you look up times, the times that are listed for the parks are all over the place. I can tell you that it says that Albert Street's open 24 hours, Sugar Bowl's open 24 hours. Ferndale is listed as Sundays closed, Saturdays closed, Monday to Friday is open from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So obviously it's something we have to look at, and there's some housekeeping things that need to be cleaned up there. So I guess I would like to hear from the rest of council I would like that the signs that we have about dogs reflect our policy. And there should be a sign that says dogs allowed, just on 3 of the signs, there's nothing about dogs whatsoever. Are they allowed, not allowed? There's nothing. But just some consistency. I'd like to hear from the rest of council what their thoughts are on it.
So having listened to your comments, Councillor Noyes, I'm thinking that there are some things that need to be further looked at, and I'm just wondering whether this memorandum shouldn't simply be referred back to staff to take a look at the 3 issues that you've raised, come back with something that provides at least some insights to us as to some solutions to the issues that you've raised.
That's fine. Like I said, there's no rush because there's no benches being put up. Granted, the signs are there, but again, there is some work that needs to be done on these signs and also on the web pages. Thank you. No,
Okay, so this is in your ward. Are you agreeable to deferring
absolutely.
this? And Councillor Dubanow, you'll second that. So are we talking about a month? Could we get this back by the committee meeting scheduled for? Or sorry, yeah, the committee let's say the council meeting for the end of June, or what month are we in? April, end of May. What year are we in? Yeah. Is a month enough time for your staff to go through these issues that have been raised and provide some comment to? Sorry, is a month adequate? Yes. Last meeting in May. Yeah. Okay, that's about a month from now. Okay. All right, everybody clear on that? So we would defer this, get some additional information and comment from staff on how we can rectify and address some issues raised by the ward councillor. All those in favor? And opposed, that is carried. Are there any other items of new business or inquiries? I did mention earlier that May the 1st this week is Doctor's Day. We did receive correspondence from Niagara Health asking to proclaim that. We didn't get it in time to get it on this agenda. So I'm wondering if anyone would like to move that we declare May 1st Doctor's Day in Fort Erie and express appreciation to our local physicians for their service to our community. Councillors McDermott and Christensen. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. So if there are no other inquiries or no other items of new business, we do have a resolution to go into closed session, and Councillor Dubanow, you have that.
I do, Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott, that council goes into closed session at 7:20 p.m. to consider the following items. 14.1, closed session minutes, the closed session minutes for March 14th, 2025. 14.2, Fort Erie Public Library Board appointments pursuant to Section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act 2001. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. 14.3, Affordable Housing Advisory Committee appointment pursuant to Section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act 2001. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. 14.4, Memorandum 271 Ridgeway Road pursuant to Section 239C of the Municipal Act 2001. A proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. And finally, 14.5, PBBS 27-2025 OLT Appeal, Crystal Beach Secondary Plan, Crystal Beach Tennis and Yacht Club, 1-25 Nantucket Road, pursuant to Section 239F of the Municipal Act 2001, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
Thank you. All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. So we're going into closed session. We're back in the council chamber, and Councillor Lewis, you have the resolution for us to rise and reconvene from closed session.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott. The council does now rise and reconvene from closed session at 7:56 p.m. with report 14.1 that council approves the closed session minutes March 14th, 2025, and that 14.2 that council appoints Maria Brigantino to the Fort Erie Public Library Board for the term ending November the 14th, 2026, or until their successors is appointed. And 14.3 that council appoints Elizabeth Paprazitsky, Habitat for Humanity Alternative Representative to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee for the term ending April the 6th, 2029, or until their successor is appointed. And I apologize if I mispronounced your name. 14.4 that council authorize staff to proceed as directed in closed session, and 14.5 that council approves the recommendations in report PBBS 27/2025 and authorizes staff to proceed as directed in closed session.
I'd like to deal with item 14.5 separately, so I'm going to ask if there are any questions or comments with respect to 14.1, 2, 3, and 4. If not, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. And 14.5, we'll deal with that separately. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. That then takes us to motions, of which there are none. Are there any notices of motion that anyone wishes to give this evening? If not, that takes us to consideration of bylaws. Are there any bylaws that anyone wishes to deal with separately? If not, then Councillor Christensen, you have the resolution to put these bylaws on the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott, that the bylaw package containing 31-2025 to authorize the use of internet voting as an alternative voting method for the 2026 municipal and school board elections, 32-2025 to authorize the entry into a license agreement with the Crystal Beach Business Improvement Area Board of Management, Farmers Market, 33-2025 to exempt a certain block in Plan 59M-506 from part lot control, Royal Ridge Drive, part of Block 1, Royal Ridge Subdivision, -2834-127, Ontario Limited, Andrew Sacco, owner. 34-2025 to set the 2025 tax rates and to levy taxes for the year 2025. 35-2025 to authorize the execution of a license agreement with the Crystal Beach Area Board of Management and Jam Sports for volley games and tournaments, 0 Erie Road. 36-2025 to amend zoning bylaw number 129-90 as amended 2121-2191 Hout Crescent, Fort Erie, 1736106 Ontario Inc., Connie Northduft, owner. 37-2025 to amend the lot maintenance bylaw 92-2019 to permit and regulate naturalized gardens. 38-2025 to authorize the entry into a temporary heritage conservation easement agreement with Cherry Hill Club Limited, 912 Cherry Hill Boulevard North. 39-2025 to amend bylaw 112-2023 municipal parking lot use and maintenance policy, and bylaw 132-2024 fees and charges bylaw. 40-2025 to amend bylaw 119-03 as amended parks and beaches bylaw. 41-2025 to amend traffic bylaw 2000-89 speed limits and parking. 42-2025 to authorize the execution of a subdivision agreement with 131-4566 Ontario Limited Hershey Estates, 0-12054 Centralia Avenue North, are given first and second reading.
All those in favor? That is carried. Those bylaws are on the floor for any questions or comments. Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. In regards to bylaw number 37, 2025, naturalized gardens, and I'm all for the naturalized gardens and the bee population, et cetera, et cetera. But my question is like, and again, I think I mentioned this the last time, how do you know the difference between a regular garden that's close to the property line and a naturalized garden? Like how, it kind of sounds like you can't have a garden anywhere like within a meter of your property line if it's on the front of the property.
Yeah, so 6.3 should have, instead of vegetative growth, 6.3B being set back, should be pollinator gardens. The concern was pollinators being in the garden as opposed to any type of shrubs or what have you. I mean, theoretically, vegetative growth would be a hedge that many people have on their property line. So it should be amended to say pollinator gardens are to be set back.
Okay, and I can appreciate that, but even pollinating gardens, from the pictures that we had from the gentleman, they look like really nice gardens.
They do. The reason I moved the amendment was because the pollinators sting, and if the gardens are right up to the sidewalk, that means people, children, are going to be more exposed to the potential for being stung.
And I understand it completely, but I'm thinking for the last 20 years, we've probably had gardens that you could refer to as pollinating gardens right up, close to the property line or close to the sidewalk. I mean, they're nice gardens. But anyway, I'm not going to, I don't want the bylaw people to start taking out people's gardens that they've been there for years. But anyway, that's we'll have to wait to see how that comes to be. The other thing was on, okay, where was it? I have all these. But something about we have to keep track of the weeds or keep control of the weeds, which is almost an impossibility. If somebody can tell me how to get rid of some of the weeds in my yard, I'd love to know, because I got lots of them. And this creeping Charlie, if anybody knows how to get rid of creeping Charlie, please tell me. But according to this bylaw, I could be in some deep trouble if somebody complains, regardless of my efforts. The other thing is that, okay, where does it say? There's someplace in here it says about every owner, about the trees, taking out trees and dead things. In here somewhere. Oh, here on 6.6. A, it says, we might want to add, it says, every owner shall keep their land and structures clean and free of dead, decayed, felled, fallen, or damaged trees. I think we better add that with a permit, because you need a permit to take down a damaged tree. You need a permit to take down a dead tree. So you may want to.
You need a letter of exemption.
Well, you may want to add that in there, because it's not in there.
I don't know why you would add it. That's in a different bylaw.
So which bylaw applies? If I take down my tree, which bylaw applies?
If you take down your tree,
Yeah, but if I take down my tree under this bylaw,
you're not taking down your tree under this bylaw.
well,
You're taking your tree down under the tree bylaw.
no, I'm taking this, every owner should keep their land. I'm looking at 6.6A.
Right.
Okay, so I'm taking down a tree, or a damaged tree. I'm just saying, you might want to say a permit may be required or a letter of exemption may be required, because it contradicts our tree bylaw.
No, it doesn't. It says you have to keep your yard clean and free from these, and if you have to cut down a dead tree to comply with this, you have to get a permit.
That's what I think I'm saying. I just think in this bylaw, it should add that so people do know.
Okay, anything further?
No, that's fine.
Don't. Okay, so with respect to paragraph 6.3B of paragraph 4 of this bylaw 37/2025, that should be pollinator garden as opposed to vegetative growth. Now, is there anybody that's prepared to move that that would comply with what we passed before. Councillor Lewis, is there a seconder for that? Councillor McDermott? Okay. Any further questions or comments on that amendment? All those in favor? That is carried. Are there any other questions that anyone has before we go to third and final reading? Councillor Noyes.
42, 2025, the Hershey Estates.
Right.
I'm just trying to get some background on this. Is this not the property that's been going on for for many, 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 many years?
Yes.
Has major drainage problems, has asked for an extension and an extension and an extension. And our last extension says, this is the last extension. Because if they asked us 20 years ago when this all started, we would have said no. So now they're asking for another extension. And they're giving reasons, which...
There hasn't been a formal request for an extension, and the expiration date for this is April the 30th.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. That's what I'm saying. Are we not just going to hold to our guns and say no extension, like we said a few months ago, saying have it by this date or else?
Well, this is our last council meeting before April the 30th, and I don't see anybody moving to extend that approval of draft conditions.
So if we do this, so if we pass this tonight, the way it's written, we're giving them the extension, or we're not giving them?
No,
We're saying you should have done it.
It looks like most of the conditions have been fulfilled. There is a condition in order for the subdivision agreement to be registered for the deposits to be paid.
Financing.
And so we will pass this. Those deposits can be paid before April the 30th, which is Wednesday, then this matter will proceed. If not, then the approval will lapse.
Okay, and thank you for clarifying that. That's how I kind of read it too.
Right.
But I wanted to make sure that it's still, it's Wednesday. If they don't have their finances in place, that's it. Okay, and there's no extension. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Frost, I did, Interim Director Frost, with respect to bylaw 41-2025, reference to Washington Street, you make reference to the east side of Dominion Road in terms of the area for the speed limit. That should be the north side of Dominion Road. In that area, Dominion Road runs east-west. So is that a change that can be made without needing a formal amendment? So maybe we should just do a formal amendment. So that's bylaw 41. And yeah, so that would be paragraph 1 of bylaw 41-2025 makes reference to the speed limit being the west side of Helena Street to the east side of Dominion Road. That should be west side. Councillor Lewis, you're going to move that be changed to the north side, and seconded by Councillor Christensen. Questions? All those in favor? Unopposed? That is carried. Okay, that then takes us to the third and final reading for the bylaw package, and Councillor Noyes, you have that.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dubanow that bylaws 35-2025 to 42-2025 inclusive are given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and the clerk under the corporate seal.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Unopposed? That is carried. That takes us to Councillor McDermott, first and second reading for the confirmatory bylaw.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dubanow, that bylaw 43-2025 to confirm the actions of council as council and committee meeting held on April 14, 2025, and then its regular council meeting held on April 28, 2025 is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? Unopposed? That is carried. Councillor Dubanow, third and final reading, please.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that bylaw 43-2025 is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Unopposed? That is carried. That takes us to scheduling of meetings. Councillor Christensen.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Fort Erie Senior Citizens Advisory Committee will meet on Wednesday, May the 7th at 10 a.m. In Committee Room 1 in Town Hall, and at 5:30 p.m. the Ridgeway BIA Board of Management will meet at the Crystal Ridge Library.
Any other meetings? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. The Accessibility Committee meeting is tomorrow at 4 o'clock in Committee Room 1.
That's April the 29th. And anyone, Councillor McDermott.
Yes, tomorrow evening, the Bridgeburg BIA, 5:30 at the Fort Erie Public Library.
You said 5:30? Councillor Lewis.
Crystal Beach Business Improvement Area Board of Management meeting on Wednesday, May the 7th, 6 p.m., Crystal Ridge Library.
Any others? If not, then I'm relieved to ask Councillor Dubanow to move the final resolution.
Yes, Your Worship, and I am very happy to. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that council adjourns at 8:12 p.m. to reconvene into a regular meeting of council on May 26, 2025.
All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much.